Good evening, everybody. I'd like to call to order the Planning and Development Committee meeting of October the 2nd already. If I could remind everybody, including members of council, if you could please put your cellular devices on an inaudible mode so as not to disrupt the meeting this evening. There are some changes to the agenda prior to asking for approval. On item 4.1, and these are handed out before you this evening in the package provided by the clerk's office. On item 4.1, Weston Consulting, Amardeep Diol, 11423 McVean Drive, in Ward 10, there's a replacement page 4.1-6. On item 7.1, so I'll ask for someone to remove 7.1 from consent when we get to the consent agenda. We have an added delegation. It'll be 5.1 from Ernesto Branco, a resident, and correspondence from Lisa Singh, also a resident, related to 7.1. Under 8.1, the minutes of the Brampton Heritage Board from September the 19th have been circulated as indicated in your agenda. Are there any more changes? Councillor Medeiros.
Thank you. I guess to the chair, I wanted to pull from consent item 7.1, but being that we have delegations, would that be pulled? So we're fine.
You'll be fine.
Thank you.
Councillor Paleshi.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'd like to add a recommendation report that the clerk's office will hand out. It's an application to amend the zoning bylaw, KLM Planning Partners Inc., 4X Development Inc. proposal to adjust the zone boundaries to reflect the red line revisions. In Ward 6, Mississauga Road, the north of Ostrander Boulevard, please.
Okay. That'll be 7.2 and it'll be circulated to members of council. Okay. I see no other changes. Would someone like to move approval of the agenda? Councillor Willens, all those in favor? That's carried. Thank you. Are there any declarations of interest under the Municipal Conflict of Interest Act? I've got one, thank you. It was handed on the other side. Seeing none, we'll move to the consent agenda. Councillor Medeiros, you'll withdraw 7.1?
Yes.
Thank you. And we now move down to, all those in favor of the consent agenda is amended. That's carried. Thank you. We move now down to the statutory public meeting reports. What I'll do, there are 3 items under the statutory public meeting. I will read each of them off and ask if anybody is here in attendance for those meetings tonight. And when we have our statutory public meeting, it is a meeting held of the Planning and Development Committee held in accordance with the requirements of the Planning Act. The proposals heard at this public meeting are as a result of applications made to the City under the Planning Act of Ontario. These are not proposals of the City of Brampton unless they are specifically identified as City-initiated proposals. The intent of this public meeting is to hear submissions from the public. Members of committee may ask questions of clarification, but will not engage in a discussion. Many people from the community will come out to speak to us on a statutory public meeting item and want to hear from their councillors at this meeting. This is not the appropriate forum for members of council to speak. It is an opportunity for the public. When the recommendation report comes back, that is when members of this committee will receive the report and debate it and make a decision with a recommendation to go to council. So, the first item is 4.1. It is a report from S. Dykstra, Development Planner. It's an application to amend the zoning bylaw and proposed draft plan of subdivision, Weston Consulting, Amardeep Diol, 11423 McVean Drive in Ward 10. Is anybody here for that application this evening? I'll ask one more time. Is anybody here for the application Weston Consulting, Amardeep Diol on McVean Drive in Ward 10? Seeing none, we will adjourn that item for this evening. The next item is a report from Neil Grady, Development Planner. It is an application to amend the zoning bylaw, Gagnon Walker Domes Limited, 1839 234 Ontario Limited, east side of Yateley Street and the north side of Clockwork Drive in Ward 6. Is anybody here for that application this evening? I'll ask one more time. It is the 1839234 Ontario Limited, Yateley Street and the north side of Clockwork Drive in Ward 6. Seeing none, we will adjourn that item for this evening. And the final statutory public meeting report is from Neil Grady, a development planner, an application to amend the zoning bylaw, Gagnon Walker Domes Limited, 2308654 Ontario, east side of Yateley, south of Agava Street in Ward 6. Is anybody here for that application this evening? I'll ask one more time. It is the application from 2308654 Ontario, east of Yateley Street, south of Agava Street in Ward 6. Seeing none, we will adjourn that. That's pretty quick statutory public meetings this evening. We'll move now down to delegations. And our first delegation is Ernesto Branco. Mr. Branco, would you like to come forward? Welcome, and I would like to remind you that you have 5 minutes to delegate members of committee this evening and speak on the report.
Is there someone here from Mattamy Homes?
I don't see
I
any.
recognize her, I believe. You represent Mattamy? Can I ask you a question?
Your opportunity is to speak to members
Okay,
of committee
the thing
this
is,
evening.
there's
If-
two points here is who's building this, who's trying to build this tower beside us? Is it Mattamy or someone else? First of all. Second is we were misled, we feel we were misled by Mattamy when we first bought that we were going to have an 18-story building beside us. Now they're trying to sell it to someone else, and I hear it's supposed to be a rental. They want to sandwich a rental to our building, which is totally unacceptable. The way that the building was designed was to accommodate the condo, and now being a rental, and we've been paying extra fees. The way it was built was to split the fees between the two buildings, and we've been paying all along this time until they build. Now they're changing their mind and they want to be separate from us, except to use our entrance to go to their tower, which is ridiculous. We are in a spot in the city that is very busy right now. We have a hard time getting out of our areas now, and they want to put a 31-story. I don't get it. It's a very poor planning. If you travel on Queen Street, it's bad as it is now. There is another 2 towers planned already, one in front of on John Street, right in front of the hospital. There's another one on Queen Street. I mean, we are congested as it is, unless you're planning to build a tunnel to get the traffic through Queen Street. So we only had one meeting on this issue, public meeting, which was in April. And nothing has been, I only got one letter since then, which was because I came to the city, and it was supposed to be on the 11th of September, and then they postponed it. They didn't say anything. They didn't send me a letter again, so we could prepare ourselves. And then I came to the city and I found out that it was today. That's why I'm here today. So I want some information.
Okay, I would like to answer your question.
Okay.
The application is made by Mattamy Homes.
Yes.
The decision makers on the recommendation report this evening will be members of this committee, and the recommendation from this committee will go to council next Wednesday, on October the 11th. I don't know, I have Councillor Medeiros. Is your question of clarification of the delegation or on the report?
On the delegation.
Of the delegation? With your indulgence, the the delegate has mentioned the date at which they thought the report was going to come to this committee. You said September the 11th?
Well, that's when I first got the
That's what
notice.
you thought it was?
Yeah, and then for some reason was postponed.
Okay. Can staff respond to that?
Yes. Through you, Madam Chair, that is the letters you're referring to is our standard public meeting follow-up letter stating that when we expect the targeting of the report to be recommendation report to be brought forward. It does specifically say in that letter direct the receivers to contact us to confirm whether or not it was going forward, and mentions it could be delayed to a further date. And this meeting was listed as one of the potential dates where that public meeting, or when it would be brought forward.
Thank you, I appreciate that. Councillor Medeiros.
Thank you, through the chair. Mr. Brightwood, thank you for your delegation. Can you tell me about, there's been a lot of discussion around, I guess, common use in terms of facilities, amenities. There was, my understanding, a pool that was supposed to be built. Is that, can you clarify? I've been hearing from different residents, different things, so.
Yes, when we first bought, the way the building was designed, they have a lobby right in the middle of the, was supposed to be between the two buildings, the two towers. We get in through the middle of it, and then we have to go way around to elevator, which I never seen this before in any other building. The reason for that was the concierge or the surveillance people were going to be there to make sure that right people would come into the building. They would, be keeping a watch on whoever came in for both towers. And that way, both towers would share the cost. And we ended up with a gym, and supposedly they were going to do a swimming pool, which we would all share. Now this is all changing all of a sudden because they want to build a rental unit, and they don't want anything to do with the share cost of the maintenance of the so-called maintenance of the place. But they still want to use our ramp, and I heard they want to bring the garbage from their place to our place so that they don't have any interruption in their area. I never heard of this before. I mean,
through the chair, and did you know about the fact that the building, I guess the other tower proposed, would be rentals?
no, it was supposed to be another tower. Was supposed to be condos, 18-story high, not 31. So now all of a sudden, Maramie, I guess, doesn't want to build. Well, if they don't want to build, I'll buy the land off them. We will do something with the land. But I think we should have the right to, we should have been approached. We don't want to build, we want to get rid of the land. Maybe we can do something with it. Not trying to put rentals beside us.
And through the chair, I guess you have condo board meetings. Can you tell me a little bit how, I know sometimes to get residents out, busy lives, can you tell me what seems to be the sentiment of the condo board? Is there an official position by the condo board?
Well, the official, they're against this proposal. I've approached all the people along John Street. They all signed the petition. I have here with me, which we can introduce more, but later on. But nobody is not agreeing with this proposal. Anybody we talk to, they're against it. We have many residents that have sent emails or whatever to him. We have one over here. And anyone we talk to, they're all against this proposal.
Now, through the chair, do you think another opportunity for a public meeting, would you like that? Do you think the residents?
I think that would be nice, because then we can get more people here to show that we are serious about this. Because with anyone we talk about, if this goes forward, we have to end up in court. This is the only way. That's the way we're gonna go. We're gonna fight till the end.
Okay,
I mean, I moved to Brampton. I originally came from a small town, and when I first came to work in in Brampton, which was about 40 years ago, I fell in love with it. That's why I ended up living here. But to do stuff like this to us, I'm an old person now. I sold my home, moved to a condo to be, nice and peaceful here. But this is an interruption in my life now. I don't understand this.
okay, thank you, Mr.
Okay,
Bronco. I guess
thank
I'll wait
you.
for the other delegation.
There are no other delegations this evening.
Oh, it's a correspondence.
The others is correspondence. Councillor Pellecci, a question of clarification of the delegation? Or is it on the staff report?
It's kind of both. I just want to confirm some things that he did say, make a statement, and then ask some questions of staff. If that's okay, Madam Chair?
I'm sorry. Do you want to go back on?
Yeah, so I'm still on the board.
Okay,
It's just,
I apologize.
I essentially like to move this report back to staff with the specific, I think, intent, and I would want another opportunity for a public meeting to consult, because we're talking about, in my opinion, a very variance on what the understanding of residents who bought into a condo. And I agree that Queen Street is great for intensification, and I know that we're talking about a very reputable developer and builder in our community. But I think with the state of the residents, and even tonight, I think just with the changes that are proposed, with the possible, I guess, opportunity that it might go to the OMB, et cetera, I think that we're close to, I guess, trying to merge, I guess, some expectations from residents. And I think it would be wise if there'd be another opportunity for Mattamy to work with the residents and have another public meeting to make a decision like this and to have it pass with still remaining questions and a lot of frustrations that I've been hearing from the residents there. I'd like to move it referred back to staff. I am concerned also regarding the lack of amenities. I guess when we're talking about having a shared amenities, that the condo fees would be reduced because you expect you're taking on another tower. There would be more people, so obviously you'd bring up the price. Now the fact that they're going to rentals, I don't know what the cost implications are for a condo complex, and I'm sure a lot of the residents don't know. So I think that type of public information, they still need to understand it. So I'd like to move referral back to staff.
Can you hold the referral? These are supposed to be questions of clarification. We can get to your
Appreciate it. Thank you.
referral when we deal with the report. Councillor Pellecci, your question of the delegation.
Yes, just to confirm, Madam Chair, thank you. Mr. Sorry, I don't.
Branco.
Franco?
Branco.
Mr. Branco, did you say that there's a pool that was supposed to be built? Like,
That
so
was-
when you bought
that-
your, just let me finish first.
Okay.
When you bought your unit, did they showcase a pool with that second tower being built in sometime in the future?
Okay, when we bought we questioned, because I used to have a pool myself, and a lot of people, same boat. And what we were told was that in the future, they were thinking of putting a pool on the second tower, and that they would come and share the gym on our side, and we would be sharing, we could use the pool. Because there was supposed to be an entrance from the front to go to the condo, and at the same token, we'd be using the same entrance.
So that's what they were thinking? Like, that's what
That's
they
what-
said
that's
to you?
the-
Or did they
the-
show you a plan with the second tower in the future, and they said that it was going to have a pool? Did the salesperson say to you, there might be a pool?
That's what they said to us, salesperson. I guess they was, maybe we,
Did they happen to show you any renderings of what the future building was going to look like?
yeah, we had, when we went and bought, they had 2 towers showing
Okay.
right there.
Yeah.
We're looking over 10 years ago already.
Sure, yep.
You know?
Okay, and then the same with the concierge desk
Yes.
and the portion.
That's why if you look at the design of the building,
Yes,
we have a long area there where,
between the,
yeah, because we are in one side, and they have a long area there for the entrance, party room, that was all supposed to be shared.
okay,
That's why they made it that way, and they have the hallway leading to this supposedly other tower.
sure. Okay, I understand.
Okay.
You mentioned the condo fees.
Yes, sir.
Did somebody tell you, or do you have in your agreement that your condo fees, you were paying more now because it was one building and it was going to go down, the condo fees, when the second building came up?
Of course, because the management was going to be managing both buildings.
Yes.
The civilians, the people that are there, and we have, I think, 24/7, someone, watch person there. That was supposed to be shared, plus we were supposed to be shared, hydro was supposed to be also a factor there on this area. We were supposed to be sharing the cost of that, so a lot of stuff was supposed to be shared between the two towers.
So
Okay?
in your, I don't know how a condo agreement works, I'm trying to remember back when I lived in a condo, but is it part of your purchase agreement, the condo fees? And is it stated in that purchase agreement that once the second tower will be built, then the fees will be adjusted accordingly?
Yeah, that's what we...
It does say that in there.
That's
Okay.
the understanding that we have.
Okay. I have no more questions of the delegate, Madam
Okay.
Chair. I do have some questions of staff.
Then I'll ask the others if their questions are for the delegation. I
Sure.
would like to have the delegation sit down so
Yes.
we can debate the merits of the recommendation. Councillor Bowman. Is your question of clarification of the delegation or on the report?
Both. So I have a question of the delegate.
So
And then-
ask that and then we'll
Yeah.
go back to,
Okay, thank you.
thank you.
Thank you for coming, Mr. Branco, and representing the people who live on the other side. You've said a number of things, that there was supposed to be a joint entrance, and I believe that was discussed last time we were here with Mattamy, but I'll ask them that later. Is there any, if it was condos, would you have any issue with what's going forward right now?
I would have no issue, because that's what we bought, that's what we understood that was going to happen. I bought knowing that's what was going to happen.
Okay.
Another building, another condo there, 18-story high, I have no issue, because that's what I bought into. I could not go against it now.
Okay.
Now, they're proposing a rental. That's totally wrong. They want to use our entrance, which it's not an easy one to go through, because as soon as you go down the ramp, you have maybe like from here to the wall to turn left again. So there has been a few accidents there already. When people come by and another one go in, most people can't back up. They don't know what to do. They don't look at the mirrors to see that people are coming through. It's a very dangerous spot.
Okay.
So when people go work, there's already line up as it is.
Okay, so if...
So it's a problem.
Yep, no, there's no question about that.
Yeah.
And so if there was a solution to that problem, and the new renters, if there was some payment for use of the shared driveway, so your condo board does not have to foot all the bill for that.
Okay, first of all, having the one ramp for another, we are, I have two cars, there's a lot of people that have two cars. You're looking at maybe 300 some vehicles have to get out of there in the morning. Now, you put in another 500 some residents there with the same thing.
Okay, no, I said...
Unless you have two,
Yeah,
you
no,
go
I
in
said
one way,
if
get
there
out
was
the other
a-
way, that could be possible.
Okay, no, I said if there was a solution.
There is no solution the way it is. It's
No,
totally
no, no.
wrong. It's
No,
totally wrong.
I'm just saying,
Yeah.
if there was a solution, would that ease some of the concerns you have?
The concern, I'd rather pay $1,000, okay? I'd rather pay $1,000 right now. I can't afford it to do that, but I would pay $1,000 and not to have them come through our area. because that becomes a public, also becomes a public access, you know? When there is, we are very concerned who comes into our building. We spend extra money because we are in a good area, but we're not, okay? There's a lot of things happening around us. I see it every day, shootings and everything else. So what we did, we put extra cameras after Mattamy, separated from us. We spent more money to be a little bit more secure. Now, we're going to have, the way this is set up, the people watching the building, they're not sitting there opening a gate, who comes in, who comes out. People sneak in behind other cars. They don't have if they don't have a fob, they'll sneak in another person. I mean,
Okay.
that's totally wrong.
Okay,
It shouldn't happen like this.
okay, thank you.
You know what I'm saying?
Yep,
I mean, I don't think you would like it if that would happen to you beside your house. This is my home. I don't like another person that I don't know coming through your home to go to their home. We want to know. We want to have control. We cannot have control of a rental place.
Thank you, Mr. Branco. Councillor Gibson.
Thank you. Sir, do you have, over here,
Yeah.
do you have any documentation from what you're asking about there was going to be a pool and that the condominium fees would go down? Do you have any documentation from when you bought to say that?
Not on me. I mean, I don't have.
So they didn't
I
give
don't
you
have
anything?
I don't have my deeds of the when I bought with me. I have it at home. No, I can't tell you top of my head what's. I mean,
They had reduced prices, and they mentioned in there that it was because of when the two condos come up, that the condo prices would be a certain price. The maintenance fees, sir.
Yeah, but I mean, it'd be interesting to see that in writing, and the pool thing, I'd like to see something in writing, because I'm a little confused. I know a little bit about condominiums, because I'm on a condominium board, but I don't think it's as simple as making a promise that when another condominium comes around, that you can reduce one other one, because I think what you'd end up having to have here is two separate condominiums, but I could be wrong. The last thing I was going to ask about, and maybe I could get legal to clarify, is I don't think we're even allowed to have this conversation about tenure. Unless legislation has changed, this council, this board cannot dictate whether it's a condominium or not. It's illegal. Has legislation changed to allow us to do that?
Through you, Madam Chair, no, that's correct. Can't
Then
regulate
to us
tenure.
here, this is a moot point. We're really discussing something we're not allowed to discuss. I hope you understand that. Legislation says that we cannot dictate what a tenure is going to be. Tenure is whether it's rentals or whether it's condominium. We're not allowed to do that by law, by legislation. So by having that discussion, we're really breaking the law right now. So I'm not. That's why I'm not talking about that. I'm just getting legal to clarify it. So I didn't see it.
If there's no more questions of Mr. Branco,
That's why I was looking for something that had some documentation in it, because I don't think that could have been provided in the first place with it. So it's really what we're talking about in that case, and unless you can show something, or in a pool's place, is hearsay. And that's not to say you weren't told, but in my experience of all the years I've been on council, a lot of times what you're told by somebody who sells you something is not reality. And I hope that's not the case here, but that has happened many times in my ward,
well,
unfortunately.
I've dealt with Mattamy for many years. I used to have my own company also, and I did a lot of work for Mattamy Homes. I regarded them at the time very high, but to pull this one on us, my mind is changing. But that's beside the point.
thank you, Mr. Branco. Would someone like to move receipt of the delegation? Councillor Medeiros, all in favor? That's carried. Thank you very much. We'll bring the report forward. And I'm glad that Councillor Gibson did ask ask of staff, what is our authority as a decision-making committee? And it's not, the report does not speak to the arrangement that may follow this application in terms of the two separate buildings and how the two share costs and interface. And maybe if you could elaborate on that, because I think it's important that the residents in attendance this evening understand what this application is and what we can legally make a decision on this evening.
That's right, through yourself, Madam Chair. So the application that is before us is a rezoning application which proposes a change in the building height and the number of units permitted on the site as well. The application does not relate to tenure in particular with respect to a change from having a rental tenure to a condo tenure or vice versa. At this point in time, the subject site is zoned to allow high-density residential development and some other complementary commercial uses as well. And so the change that's proposed, as I mentioned, is with respect to the height and the number of units. So staff has reviewed those two matters in particular and the associated potential impacts relating to them. In particular, the increase in height from 22 stories to 31 stories, and the additional number of units, bringing it up to 550 units. Staff has found through the review of traffic studies as well as various urban design studies and such matters, some legal matters as well, that we don't have any significant concerns relating to the application. We find that the proposal is appropriate planning and appropriate for the development of the lands, and we are supportive, recommending support of the application. With respect to the maintenance of the site, as the gentleman was identifying, was intended for some sharing of the maintenance on the existing developed portion of it. That will remain. Through the site plan application and the plan of condominium that was completed for that developed portion already, there were shared servicing agreements that were approved and registered on title. There were condominium declarations that were finalized as well. And so any and all legal obligations that there are relating to now who will be the owner of the subject site will remain. So if it is not that this site is developing for condominium purposes, but rather for rental, the owner of the rental development will need to honor all of their legal obligations with respect to the servicing and maintenance of the two properties that were all intended and identified through those previous legal agreements.
Thank you very much. Just as a matter of process, Madam Clerk, do we need to have someone move the report in order for Councillor Medeiros' motion for deferral? So the report is before members of committee. Would someone like to move the report? You're going to move it? Councillor Fortini moves the report. And Councillor Medeiros has moved a deferral. Are you deferring it to a particular date?
Which time, I guess, allow for a public meeting with residents to go over further details. I guess I have some questions of staff. I guess before I move the deferral.
So will you hold your deferral motion until members of committee have an opportunity to ask questions on the report and get clarification? You may change your mind.
Okay.
Thank you. Councillor Paleshi.
Thank you, Madam Chair. To staff, the two buildings, was there, it went from 18 to 20 up to 31 stories? And are we, is there a height restriction? Have we said the max is a 31-story building? Or have they just come in with 31 and we've said, we're okay with that?
Through you, Madam Chair. So the current zoning bylaw for the sites does permit a maximum of 22 stories, not the 18. I can't guess as to how the 18 was understood. Potentially a concept that was previously created.
Yep.
The proposal now through this application is for 31 stories, and staff finds that, as noted within the report, that 31 stories is found to be acceptable for the reasons identified within the report itself with respect to the statistics associated with the number of units and the urban design and other considerations for that built form as well. We find that it is sufficiently set back from the lower density uses that exist to the south of the site, and it's an appropriate built form for this segment of the Queen Street corridor, considering that the corridor is planned for intensification purposes.
Okay. For an additional public meeting, I guess the applicant has gone through the proper process to have this application here before us today. Is that correct?
Through you, Madam Chair, yes, staff's understanding that the process that has allowed us to get to this point in time has complied with all the Planning Act requirements and our city requirements as well.
And normally, and for Councillor Willens and I, if an application comes forward, we would normally have an additional, if it was a hot topic, such as this one is, it's a big deal, especially where it is, we would normally ask for an additional town hall or an additional public meeting before this stage. Is that correct?
Through you, Madam Chair, again, generally that's correct. Really, staff, have in circumstances arranged for, helped to, and worked with the applicant towards the applicant's arrangement for a supplementary public meeting, or potentially through the council office as well, as we know. In this case, with the number of individuals that have had come out to the public meeting, which was 2 individuals, and really with it was 5 written pieces of correspondence as well. So fairly modest really comments received on the application, really, along with the fact that there had not been any requests for supplementary public meetings. Staff had not worked towards providing any.
No, and I don't think that you would. That we don't have many people, like 5 written and two attending. It doesn't seem like a lot of people, and especially when you're hearing from one of the 2 that they feel a lot of their neighbors in that building and surrounding area have issues with this. But that being said, what I don't like hearing is I don't like anybody coming to say that, these are some of the things that they were offered or enticed when they were purchasing their condo. That's what I don't like hearing, and I'm always in favor of a public process. Unfortunately, time is money. I'm a firm believer in that, and it is unfortunate that they weren't given an opportunity. Maybe in that building would be a great place to hold a public meeting, or in the summer maybe outside or something like that. But, and I know the applicant, I believe the applicant would have been okay to meeting the public. I'm going to support a referral to, I don't know if it would be a deferral. I think it would be a referral to the next time that you could bring this with an amount of time that you could hold a public meeting. So, whether you want to make it a month, or I think you need to put a date to it. I don't know if a deferral would. I think you really need to put a date to it, though, and essentially contact the residents and get out there and post signs and get people to attend. It's unfortunate that the company has to wait a little bit longer, but I'm a firm believer in bringing this out to the public. And just because some of the things that the one delegate did mention, I'd like to see some of those things resolved. For parking, I don't know how you resolve that. You have enough parking spots for the additional building. It's just that using that one additional ramp. Do we have any comments on that? I guess it's a private ramp, so can we impose, when we do a traffic study for a road, we say how big it has to be or how, whatnot for stop signs or lights or anything like that, but we can't oppose them to do an additional lane or an additional entrance or exit, can we?
Alan?
So through you, Madam Chair again, the applicant, rather I should start with the fact that staff is understanding that the intent all along was to have one parking ramp leading down to the underground parking. And in that way, the easements and the shared servicing agreement was created. Really, the concern that was identified on there being a single ramp that was noted from the public meeting for this application, with that, staff reviewed in particular analysis that was done by BA Group, BA Consulting, who are a traffic and parking expert consultancy. And so they have provided us with their commentary towards the fact that they find the ramp to be appropriate. So really based on the number of individuals that would be added by way of the proposed development and modeling out the effectiveness and functionality of that single ramp, they had provided through to us information which is identified within the report as well. Their summary to state that the ramp is expected to operate appropriately and function.
And then just one final question, Madam Chair, then. What about once the public is on the public road, are our roads adequate enough to hold the additional 31,605 additional units?
I think for clarification, it's a
Fif-
total for the
550.
site between the two towers. It's
Oh,
not
my
one
apologies,
building.
my apologies, you were correct. Just the additional units is our public road system?
Through Madam Chair again, the staff that we've been consulting with have not at any point identified any concerns relating to the public road system in order to be able to accommodate the number of trips that are expected by way of the additional units that are being proposed to be developed. Perhaps now I'll really reference parking, which is a function of really how the public roads operate. With respect to parking, BA Group has really identified or actually completed a parking survey as well as their modeling. And with their survey, they had reviewed how the site currently operates. And they have noted that while there are some while there is some parking that does occur off-site for use on-site, I guess for individuals to travel onto the site for shopping and such, they've helped us determine that the amount of parking that is proposed with this application, the ratios are higher. There is more parking being provided with this proposal from a ratio standpoint than what was provided with that earlier phase. So in that respect, they've confirmed that parking is appropriate as well.
Effectively, that's what it says in the traffic impact study as well, right? That's submitted. Okay, thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Councillor Bowman?
Thank you very much, through you, Madam Chair. Alan, I just want to be clear, because Councillor Gibson brought up a point, and I mentioned it to Councillor Miles, that legally, we can't talk about what's going on here. What specifically, what we are voting on tonight is the recommendation here of the 31 stories and the amendments that go with it, all the attachments and the whereases and wherefores and additions. So that's what we're voting on. And if this vote goes through, then essentially the project is confirmed and it moves forward, correct?
So essentially, that's correct through you, Madam Chair. And so at this point in time, I'll add that staff is currently reviewing a site plan application as well for the subject lands, which would look, as we know, council knows, we would look in a more detailed way, each of the elements that comprise the project as a whole. So that site plan process is currently commenced, and we would continue along with it if it was that this application to amend the zoning bylaw was approved. If it was that this application was deferred, the site plan review of those finer details would have to be deferred to some extent as well. If the application was potentially refused by council, the site plan application would have to be amended to reflect the way in which the site is currently zoned without the proposed amendments. That's all to say that, yes, you're correct. The report speaks to those fundamental aspects of the zoning bylaw change, and that is it.
Okay, so in the words of the recommendations here, this is approval in principle. If this were to be approved and we still go forward with a meeting, does it come back to us at any point for us to say, wait a second, there's a lot of concern here and we need to send this back?
So through you, Madam Chair, with this application being approved today in the form as identified as recommended by the staff's report, staff will come back to this committee I should correct myself. We won't be coming back to committee, but rather the implementing documents, the actual amendment to the zoning bylaw document itself will come to council at a future point in time for adoption.
Okay, because what it seems to me like is there's a disconnect between what is in contract currently between Mattamy and this building, and what the residents currently in the building understand to be the case. So I don't know how we resolve that because we've got one group saying this and one group saying this, but then we had you saying any agreements that were currently in place stay in place for whoever. So I think there's some misunderstanding here, and I think there is probably room for another meeting of some sort to straighten this out. So I'll leave it there, and I'll listen to Councillor Sprovieri. Thank you.
Councillor Sprovieri.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The only question I have on this is is planning requiring some really exceptional designs along the street corridor? This one seems to look like the new one. It's a concept seems to look like one that's already existing in just to the west, and the original Mattamy one. It's okay, but it's nothing really fantastic. I think that ship building is probably, in my view, it probably looks a nicer building along the Queen Street. So is there something that we're really looking at? You look at Mississauga in their core, and you see some really fantastic designs going up that really makes the area really look exceptionally outstanding. So what are we doing here in Brampton to make our Queen Street corridor, which is going to be probably our main focal point? Are we requiring to have some really exceptional designs here?
So through you, Madam Chair, the stage that we're at now with the zoning bylaw amendments really is the purpose of it is to look not necessarily at all the finer details which will occur through the site plan process, but to understand the key elements of the project, the massing of the building, really how the sheer mass of the building is perceived from the public realm, from the street as you're a pedestrian and walking along it, really how it impacts the adjacent properties as well if you're a resident living close to it. what we find with the proposal that's with us today, which proposes the creation of a point tower. You'll see that reference within the report. And what a point tower, just quickly, is a building that's more slender. It's not a slab design, which tends to be wider. And so staff is quite appreciative of that. It is a built form, which is more progressive and being used in design more because of the improvements and benefits that it provides. With a thinner building, you're able to really look past it through a skyline. It doesn't really block views to the same extent. It does not create the same shadowing effects as well. So we are appreciative of that. Now, with respect to, I think, Councillor Spovier, the design elements you're speaking to, the other important things, other than just the slenderness of the tower, is the appearance, the materials, how the balconies are treated in a way, the other shape elements, the roof line as well. Within the report, we do identify, staff does identify that we would like to see some improvements to the design from what is identified currently within the report. And there are recommendations included within the report, which would...
5.3 speaks to the high level of architectural design.
That's correct. And so really it's through the site plan application that we will ensure that really, and to the satisfaction of the commissioner planning, that we are satisfied with all those urban design elements, those design items relating to those things I mentioned, and materials and overall look and feel.
Well, and that's fine, and I'm sure that's the original building probably went through the same rigorous process. Although, as I said, it's just looks fairly common. It doesn't look like anything outstanding, and I would hope to see something really exceptional as we develop that core, because that corridor, because that's going to be our our focal point in the city. So it's really good to start doing a better job, in my view. Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Miles.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. Is it possible for a representative from Mattamy to come down and answer a few questions? If
Absolutely.
I could?
Would you like to add who's going to come forward? Aaron? I need to reopen the agenda to add a delegation, Madam Clerk. All those in favor of reopening the agenda? That's carried. Councillor Miles has moved the addition of delegation Aaron Wisson from Mattamy Homes to the agenda. All those in favor? That's carried. You're now free to speak, sir.
Thank you very much.
But I think Councillor Miles has questions. That's probably the easiest.
Wisson?
Wisson, W-I-S-S-O-N.
Okay, Aaron. So I have a few questions for you. This particular site, the existing condominium and townhouses were developed quite some time ago, 10 years. Is it about 10 years? So why didn't Mattamy proceed with the third tower? Or the second tower, I guess.
Initially it's strictly economics. The sales would be there, but not enough to fill an entire building. We made commitments earlier on the first phases. We did it. We made it out alive, but the market isn't necessarily there for the high-rise market, and that's sort of reflective of what we're doing now, in that it will be a larger building in the second phase with more units, a condo, but owned wholly by one entity and become rental, because that seems in their business, which is not ours, seems to work.
Okay, so that's what I had understood to the members of committee is that the condominium market there was very, very difficult for Mattamy to fill at the time that it was being built, and that's why the second phase didn't go ahead. And I think that's really important for us to know, because I mean it's really important that if if people are going to be building in the city, we want to make sure that they're building what is needed. And I know I drive by that stretch of Queen Street nearly every day. I have for years, and I always look at that site and I wonder, why isn't something going ahead there? Because it really is a really good location for high-density residential. But I guess I always guessed that Mattamy would have proceeded if there was the economic reasons for them to do so. So I guess from my standpoint, we're looking at the Queen Street corridor. We know within the City of Brampton's growth plan and growth numbers, we have got to intensify on Queen Street to meet our growth and population numbers that are set down by the province of Ontario. We also know we're in the middle of going through a rapid transit study for Queen Street. Queen Street is going to be a rapid transit corridor for the City of Brampton, which again says that we should be looking at intensification on that corridor and higher density residential. We know also, those of us who sit at the region of Peel, we know about the huge need for all different kinds of housing in the City of Brampton and the region of Peel. And even though we're not allowed to really consider tenure here, that the amount of rental accommodation in the City of Brampton is less than 1%, and there is a huge need in the City of Brampton for rental housing.
Councillor Miles, do you have another question for Aaron Wisson?
Yeah, well, I guess I needed to ask the question about why it hadn't gone forward, and I guess the answer to the question was economics, and that they didn't feel that they could sell out another condominium. Obviously you tried and it didn't work, so the next move was what would work there, and I guess you've made the summation that a rental building probably would be a better choice for that area. So, I guess in all good conscience, I can't do anything but support this application. I think it is the right thing for the corridor. I know one of the gentlemen said that if it was going to be a condo, he could support it, but if you can't sell them, you can't build them, so that's kind of a moot point at this time. And we do know, as I've said, from all of the studies that we have, even at the region of Peel, about the huge demand that we need for rental accommodation in this city. The Medallion properties that we've built in Bramalea and in downtown rented out. So I think that this property will be a success. And I think that that stretch of Queen Street close to Kennedy needs a really good, another really good redevelopment. It's starting to happen along that corridor, and we have to be willing to adapt to change and to the market. So I understand why staff have supported the application, because there really is no reason not to support this application. We're looking for high density, mixed use, residential along the Queen Street corridor. And I know I had a meeting with staff today about another side part of Queen Street where applications are coming in, and they really are not reflecting of what we need for the future of the municipality along Queen Street. So I'm not going to support a referral. I think that we've had the public meeting. We didn't have a huge amount of the condominium owners come out. There was only 2 here. And I'm not sure if anything has changed. So if we have a public meeting, is there anything that's changed to share with the members of the public that attend? I don't think there's anything that's changed. So on that, I won't support the referral. I would support the staff recommendation as it is, and thank you for answering that one question.
Not a problem.
Thank you. Councillor Palesci, do you have a question of Aaron Wisson? Okay. That's why I left you there, Aaron. I
Okay.
didn't want to invite you to sit down.
First, question to staff then. When will zoning bylaw approval come back to council? Like in November?
Can we shut Councillor Miles' microphone off, please? Thank you.
So through you, Madam Chair, we suspect it'll be quickly. Whether it's in November or December, we can't confirm now. We are just discussing that will be some prior to conditions to be satisfied, just on some of the background reports, but that is not expected to be long at all. So
Okay, but not in October. So we have time. Aaron, can you hold a public meeting in 2 or 3 weeks?
I can do that.
Can you hold one in 2 weeks on, say,
Councillor Medeiros and I were just looking at the calendar. It doesn't look like there's any meetings in November, only a 1 o'clock in the afternoon meeting. Feeling that October 30th,
It would come to council.
unless it's referred to another Planning and Development Committee meeting.
No, zoning bylaw would come to council. It wouldn't hit another planning meeting.
You're not referring to referral of the
Well,
report
I'm saying don't refer it, approve it today,
in principle.
but in
Yeah.
principle, but then hold your public meeting in the next 2 or 2.5 weeks with staff, request that staff be there, and I'm sure Mattamy would have good conversations with the residents that attended to listen to, and to see what's the 2 fingers mean? You a Boy Scout?
Maybe I have 2 things to say.
Okay.
Through you, Madam Chair, and this sort of relates to something Councillor Bowman brought up as well, and I thought I should weigh in. If committee passes these recommendations and then they're subsequently adopted by council, that is effectively a decision under the Planning Act. It is subject to fulfilling these prior twos, but a decision will have been made. So if a public meeting or a town hall or whatever proceeds after that, and there's something that comes out of that would alter the decision, you've already made the decision. So my suggestion would be, if their will of committee is to hold another public meeting or town hall, that you not make a decision on the application tonight.
Yeah, but I'm not asking for, I'm fine with the 31 stories. I'm fine with whatever they want, rental or condo, I don't care. I'm fine with everything that they want to do. It's all those added items that they need clarification between their councillors, the residents, and the builder. So it's all those little things.
I guess the question, if I can, Councillor Palashi, to legal, is are any of those other issues things that this council can make a decision on? Or are they shared agreements that we have no jurisdiction over?
And then in addition to that, some of the other things that the residents might want to see would be taken in at site plan approval. So before it comes back, they're still working on site plan approval, so with staff there, they just get a better understanding from what the residents and the builder would agree to on site plan approval. I'm not saying that we change anything that's here before us today, though.
That's fine. I'm just saying, if the decision is made, you've made a decision on the zoning under the Planning Act. If matters we're talking about are wholly within site plan,
I have no problem with the zoning.
Then that's dealt with at a later stage.
That's why we might as well move the zoning today and then work through
So
with
when
the
the motion
builder.
for deferral is put on, you won't be supporting it?
Well, I'm just saying, maybe the councillors want to think about that, because that's what it sounds like to me,
Okay.
the site plan approval stage.
Councillor Bowman.
Through you, Madam Chair. Aaron, is this solid? I mean, the sticking point to me seems to be a single entrance and exit.
Yep.
Is there no other way that a separate entrance could be made for building 2?
I guess it would be wrong for me to say there is no other way. I'm sure physically it's possible. It introduces a whole new range of problems, I imagine, because it would have to come out onto one of the other streets, likely on the periphery there to Rome. likely. Then it chews into the amenity space, the parquet that were supposed to go there. There's other issues, I'm sure, with traffic conflicts that I can't even speak to that would start to happen. And I would go back to the original plan, which was for the 2 towers and the townhouse complex, all designed as one cohesive unit to utilize the one entrance, come in and out. And again, the condo declaration has been set up that way with components of the phase 1 building set to be basically walls knocked out, become shared, and the ultimate design is one complete final design. So I'd say yes. Physically, I'm sure it's possible, but I would imagine, open up more problems than we're talking about today,
Okay,
to be honest.
So we're short on park space, so we don't want to touch
Well, and
the amenity.
that's where it would have to go, is that back corner.
Okay,
where
so
we
we
have
don't
the
want to
space.
do that. How would you answer the resident that there's a difference between the condo and the fees they pay parking and their security, and having residents of another unit just driving through? Is there a security issue, or is there a way that these other residents are going to be key fobbed or whatever, so that it's relatively secure that it's only other members of the building?
Absolutely, I think. We've had the previous public meeting, we've heard the concerns. That was then given to us from staff, like saying, here's the comments, here's what you saw at the public meeting. Subsequent to that, we sat down, Mattamy, our solicitors, with the condo board, the phase 1 and 3, to go over these issues and say, here's what came out, here's how we're going to address it. We did make pointed questions about the current security setup and access protocols, and how visitors are brought in, how visitors are using the facility. And we've made sure, and Greg will correct me if I'm wrong, that we are going to basically mimic or tie in exactly to the same processes they have. I got that right? Same key fob, same security concierge, same access point, same protocols. It just, the parking structure is twice as big now. This goes one step further. Yes, they will be driving through phase 1 to get to that ramp, but it's the same rules, same application, and those laneways are not exclusive to phase 1. They were always intended to be part of the second tower's access point. Right now, they are exclusive to phase 1, but that's because the second tower has not been built.
Okay.
So the plan was always in the documents that when phase 2 happens, this becomes a shared facility between the two.
Okay, so it was always planned that there would
Always.
only be one entrance
From day 1,
from day 1?
yeah.
And that would go for phase 2 and whatever happens with phase 3?
Correct, and it's in all of their documents. So,
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you. I have a motion,
Sorry, just a clarification.
okay?
Through the chair. So I guess it was always in the phases, but it wasn't in the phases at that level in terms of.
not 31 stories, no, it was
No.
contemplated
So was
22,
that, so I think that's a major distinction. So it's not just a continuance. We're talking about saying that you're building an infrastructure 10 years ago or a facility and then after 10 years later, you've increased it by, I don't know, 25, 30%. So we're talking about, it's a major change. Parking studies aside and the technicalities around it, for a resident and for the impact in that area, we're talking about a major change that I think that residents need to understand. We sit here and we get all this technical advice, and I think, there's a willingness by Mattamy, and I know, always been good, strong corporate players and willing to, meet with them again. And we're just talking about coming back to October 30th. Sorry, I guess this is, you've answered my question. I'll go on to I appreciate
Okay.
your time, but thank you very much
Yeah.
for willing to come up and speak to it. Thank you.
So, Councillor Virginie?
So is there a pool in this the building that's there now?
No.
So the pool was always intention to build on the other side,
I
using share.
don't know of any pool, and I'm pretty certain the architect who was involved was right there. Phase 1 and 2, there was never a pool contemplated. So, did someone tell him that? Possibly, but I don't know where that information would come from, because we weren't ever planning to build a pool in phase 1 or phase 2.
I worked in law, I never seen a building with a pool's or one entrance. It's very hard. If a ramp breaks or a door breaks, it's kind of hard when you have 500-600 cars. And I'm going to ask for a recorded vote.
Thank you. There is a motion of deferral, moved by Councillor Medeiros, that consideration of the subject report be deferred until such time as a supplementary public meeting can be convened, and that the matter be brought back to a future Planning and Development Committee meeting on October the 30th, 2017. So it's a motion of deferral, which is not debatable. So don't push your button, Councillor Paleshi. You have a question, but not on the deferral motion. Councillor Paleshi is on the...
This guy's actually lied about something. Can we say something about that?
Sure. I don't lie, but that's okay.
No, like you mentioned that there's going to be key fob entrance into the garage, but you guys...
Excuse me, this is not an opportunity for a conversation between the applicant and the residents. If you want to have the conversation subsequent to... Pardon? Councillor Gibson.
Well, we were speaking to this item, and then somebody who's speaking to it now asked for deferral on it. We asked for some clarification through this.
We do that all the time, but I did ask Councillor Medeiros to withhold his motion of deferral until such time as we had an opportunity to ask questions.
The normal procedure, as I understand it, you can't speak to an item and then defer it, and that's what just happened.
Yeah, you're right.
Can I ask for clarification from the clerk?
Through you, Madam Chair, the councillor's right that when a motion of deferral is moved, it's non-debatable and should be moved at the beginning and not at the end of a speech. However, the practice that this committee adopted this evening, observing the debate, was there were a number of members that wanted to speak to the item. So while a deferral was contemplated as well as referral, there were a lot of words being used. The chair accepted the stand down of the deferral to allow committee to have debate. So the chair's ruling is correct that the deferral motion is now properly placed if that's the will of committee.
No, next time we won't do that again. Okay. Councillor Medeiros?
No.
Okay. So a recorded vote has been asked. Mr. Clerk, if you would like to call the motion on the deferring.
All in favor of deferral, please stand to be counted. Showing in favor of the deferral is Mayor Jeffrey, Councillor Fortini, Councillor Medeiros. All opposed to the deferral, please stand to be counted. Showing opposed to the deferral is Councillor Miles, Councillor Bowman, Chair Moore, Councillor Sporovieri, Councillor Paleshi, Councillor Willens, and Councillor Gibson. Madam Chair, the motion loses 3-7.
Okay, and the main recommendation has been moved by Councillor Fortini. All those in favor? Councillor Paleshi.
Madam Chair, I'd like to amend the recommendation, the staff recommendation. I'd like to ask that the area councillors hold a public meeting with the applicant and to run with the, sorry, I'm just trying to find 7-1, to run with the, before the zoning bylaw comes back to a November or December meeting and to coincide with site plan approval.
Okay, so the clerk was kind enough to write up a recommendation that the report recommendations be approved and that Mattamy Homes be requested to convene a public meeting prior to the zoning bylaw being brought before City Council for approval.
I just asked that the area councillors and staff be added to that.
Public meeting, that the Mattamy be requested to convene a public meeting.
But of course, I want Mattamy to pay for it.
Including the area and including the area councillors. Anybody else you wanted to add? Your sister? Nieces and nephews? and including area councillors and staff. Okay? Been moved by Councillor Palashi. I don't know how that plays itself out when Councillor Fortini's already moved the report, but is it an amendment to it? It's an amendment. All those in favor of the amendment? Whoa, sorry. Councillor Gibson.
I need some clarity here because the way Councillor Pleshy just said, he was basically telling the councillors that they had to have a public meeting. So I hope we're rewording it to say that we're asking Mattamy to have it.
It does say that Mattamy holds a public meeting.
I would be offended if the councillors were telling me to have a public meeting, so I don't know how the other ones feel, but is that the way it's worded now?
It's very clear. It's that Mattamy host a
I would
public
be if you were
meeting.
dictating to me to have a public meeting. Yes, I would be offended.
Okay, councillors.
Thank you.
Councillors, the recommendation is that Mattamy host a public meeting that includes the area councillors and staff. They will invite them.
Please.
I'm sure they will want to be there. Thank you. Councillor Miles.
So the public meeting is for what? What is the reason? Why are you requiring the public meeting if the application has already been approved? Is the public meeting an information meeting to share with the public, with the members of the condo corporation, what council approved? Or are you, because site plan, council doesn't approve site plan, that's done by the planning department, so I just don't know why there's a public, why you'd be requiring a public meeting if it's already passed by council and the members of the public can't change anything. Because
Councillor
our
Palashi,
legal
you moved the
counsel
motion.
just told us that.
Councillor Palashi is the mover of the amendment. Did you wish to respond?
Please. And thank you, Councillor Miles. And yes, for information, we heard today that there wasn't a public meeting, a proper public meeting. That's what the residents felt. So I think that this would be a good opportunity. I'm not going to put words in the mouths of the councillors, but I think that this is a good opportunity for, if it was in my area, for the applicant to get together with the residents, to hear what the residents, to hear from the applicant. And this is exactly
So
what
it's
we
an
would do.
information meeting. It's a public
Absolutely,
information
but
meeting.
it's
Okay.
there's always opportunity for the applicant to listen to the residents and maybe to make any small changes that they would like to see and to bring that to staff. And if staff's okay with that, there's always opportunity. And I think this is a good opportunity. Listen, the public meeting should have happened already. We all know that, but it didn't. And
We're not
and
debating
it
Councillor
should.
Palashi. You
That's all.
clarified.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. Councillor Miles.
So I was here for the public meeting. I was here for the statutory public meeting. And to have a public meeting now, after it's been approved, is pointless. And I just, I'm not going to.
Councillor Palashi.
If the councillors want to go ahead and organize a meeting with Mattamy, they should do that. But I don't think we should be dictating them what they should be doing from this chambers. If you want to approve the application, approve it. If you don't want to approve it, don't approve it. But if it's not approved, then you can have a public meeting. If it is approved, you know what, I think it's pointless, and in fact, I think you're setting the councillors up, quite frankly. So that's my feeling, sorry.
Councillor Medeiros, did you wish to speak to the amendment?
Yeah, I just wanted to thank Councillor Palashi. I do appreciate your intent, and I think Mattamy has a good track record. I think they'd be amenable to any type of information meeting that we'd have with residents at this point. It's unfortunate, I will say, decision's been made, and we respect the decision, and I think only going forth we can at least provide more clarification with the residents and just try to ensure that everyone understands the full implications. And so I thank you very much, Councillor Palashi.
Thank you. I'll now call the question on the recommendations contained in the report. Moved by Councillor Fortini. All those in favor? That's carried. Thank you very much. We'll move receipt of the delegation. Did we do that, Mr. Clerk? We've already done it? We moved receipt of Mr. Branco and of Aaron Wisson? Okay. Councillor Bowman, would you like to move receipt of the delegation and the correspondence by Ms. Singh? Thank you. All those in favor? That's carried. Thank you. The next report is 7.2. It was handed out earlier this evening as it was added to the agenda. It is the KLM Planning Partners Incorporated 4X Developments. Now, staff or council have not really had an opportunity to read this. Would someone like to give us a bit of an overview as to why this was handed out this evening? Okay, we'll just wait a moment till the council chamber's clear. Councillor Palashi, I was going to ask Mr. Parsons if he could speak to this report. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And the application is submitted by KLM Planning Partners Incorporated on behalf of 4X Development Incorporated. Draft plan of subdivision and zoning bylaw amendment have previously been approved at the site for 405 detached dwellings, stormwater management ponds, and a neighbourhood park to the east of Mississauga Road and north of Ostrander Boulevard. This application relates to Phase 2 of the development and is for a zoning bylaw amendment to accommodate a realigned roundabout and a street, which are required to enable the future development of a parcel of land to the west of the subject site. The proposed amendments relate to the zoning boundaries close to the roundabout and the introduction of 2 new zoning bylaws for the 4 lots which surround the realigned roundabout. As set out in the staff report, it's recommended that the zoning bylaw amendment be supported. Thank you.
Thank you. Since you're not Rob Nikifortune, maybe you could remind us of your name. And welcome to the council.
Apologies,
chambers.
Madam Chair. Through you, my name is Nathaniel Baker. I'm the development planner.
Thank you, and welcome. Councillor Palashi.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just in terms of the notifications that went out, do you know if all of Huttonville Estates was encompassed in the 250 meters?
Through you, Madam Chair. No, I don't believe Huttonville Estates were captured by the 240-meter circulation distance that we provide. In that respect, the lands for the subdivision have previously been registered in part. Hence, there's only a portion of the plan of subdivision that really is contained by way of a formal property limit. Really, and that being the area that we're speaking to tonight, just by way of the subject report. The 240-meter distance from the current boundary does not travel so far south as to reach this Huttonville residential area as well. Rather, it reaches the area around the subject site, which does include the lots that have been previously registered and the new owners that have purchased those lots.
Thank you very much, and I'm happy to move the report, Mr. Chair. Madam Chair.
Thank you. Councillor Gibson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I think you asked, but I don't think you got the answer. Can you explain to the public knows why this was an added item on tonight's agenda?
Yeah, through you, Madam Chair. So this is an item that was intended to be brought to this meeting originally. In proceeding along through our administrative steps towards getting this report to this meeting, there were some additional clearances by way of internal staff that had to be received to allow that to occur. Some clearances did not get received until a little later on. So really by way of that alone, the item was not put onto the original agenda. Speaking with the applicant about the potential to defer it to a later meeting, really was understood that they felt strongly about proceeding through to this meeting. So the request was made.
That just means they forgot.
Okay. Councillor Palashi, you're back on the board.
No, I just moved the report.
Okay. Moved by Councillor Palashi. All those in favor? That's carried. Thank you. The Heritage Board minutes were here handed out for the meeting. Councillor Willems, you'd like to move those? Do you have any questions? Good job. All those in favor? That's carried. There's no other business, no referred or deferred matters or notice of motion. Councillor question period. Are there any questions from members of council, members of committee? Seeing none, are there any questions from the public in attendance this evening on any matter on the agenda? Seeing none. That was me, sorry. Those words we like to hear most, Councillor Miles? Motion to adjourn? All those in favor? That's carried. Thank you. Thank you, staff.